Alright, so in today's video, let's talk about strength standards. Now, often I get asked by lifters, how strong should I be? How do I become stronger than this person? What's a good squat to have? A good bench, a good deadlift? And it's about all the questions I've asked myself in the past. And it's probably about 2.5 years ago, I decided to create what I call like my strength tiers for Black Down, as well as our competition tiers. Now, these are basically percentages based on your body weight used as a measure of progress, right? As a strength enthusiast or a powerlifter or just someone who wants to get stronger, you should always have something to work towards, not just an arbitrary number that sounds cool. I know a lot of people like to chase the 2 times body weight in the deadlift. People like to chase, the 3 times body weight in deadlift. Same thing with the squats, and like to be able to bench their body weight. So wrapping numbers around a goal and as well as around your body weight is a very effective way to measure your progress. Now these tiers have changed 3 or 4 times over the past couple of years, because as our lifters get stronger and they get better, our standards rise. So you're going to notice some, you won't notice any changes, but you'll notice that we like to make sure that these tiers are not easy to come by. They are challenging, which I think should be the case. I don't believe that, when you're setting a goal, it should come to you, say, after the first 4 to 8 weeks, even 12 weeks. There might be times where you have to train for a whole year to move yourself up through these training tiers. Now, what I like to categorize people into, there are 3 types of people that can use this, right? The first one is general population. These are people who, they can be like your general office workers. They like to train 3 days a week. They're not, super passionate about training. They just live for their healthy lifestyle. They don't want to become powerlifters, and they don't want to move, 3 times their body weight in the squat or deadlift. But they are someone who, has trained on the treadmill at their local gym, have used the machines, and now they want to start to use barbells and want to learn how to squat, bench, and deadlift. So those are the first people that we'll discuss. And the second people are the strength enthusiasts. Now these people have been training for about 1 to 5 years. They're self-taught, they've watched a lot of YouTube videos, they've learned from their own technique, their own mistakes, etc. And they probably downloaded a shitload of programs off the internet and used those to become stronger. What I find with the strength enthusiasts is they're at a point where they've plateaued, their numbers aren't increasing as quickly as they used to, and chances are these people need a coach to be able to get them towards things like a 2.5 times body weight squat or deadlift, and that 1.5 times body weight bench press, which you'll see in a second with the strength tiers. The third type of person I'm going to be talking about as well that fit into these tiers are the competitive powerlifters. Now the biggest difference between a competitive powerlifter and the 2 prior, the Gen Pop and the strength enthusiasts, they focus more on their powerlifting total. So we'll be talking more about the competition tiers over the strength tiers. But the strength tiers do play into the competition tiers, because we know, and we've tried and tested, if you're stuck at a particular total, focusing on the strength tiers in the gym, getting stronger in the gym and working up and through the tiers, that means you are going to see an increase in your powerlifting total. So let's get into it. You'll be able to see somewhere on screen by now, if not, it's going to be up by now, that there are the men training tiers. Now let's start with the Gen Pop. At minimum, right? At minimum, in my opinion, Gen population men should be able to squat their body weight for 5, bench press 80% of their body weight for 5, and deadlift their body weight for 5. That's just the bare minimum. I believe that any man should be able to do this. I don't mean that as soon as they walk straight into the gym they should be able to do this, but that should be their first goal if they want to consider themselves to be able to get stronger, and maybe to consider themselves strong, right? I know what you're going to say, or have already said, hold on a minute, these strength tiers, they're not fair for the heavier people. You get someone who's a Gen Pop lifter, never really trained barbells and weights before, and they might weigh 120 kilos. It's gonna take them a while to be able to squat 120 kilos for 5 reps. Couple of things. One, if that person considers themselves overweight, they should be looking to drop weight, which means that their body weight's gonna reduce, which means they can get to their 5 reps at their body weight faster. The second thing, if you're a good enough coach and you have a good enough process and system, you'll be able to get them on this male who's 120 kilos, for example, get them towards squatting 120 kilos for 5 reps pretty quickly. Right? I'm not saying after a couple of weeks, it's going to take a couple of months, but they have to go through the process. And the third thing, as I said before, these tiers should not be easy. They need to be tough. They need to be able to push the individual to go above and beyond what they're capable of. We're all about just pushing someone's limits, finding out what those limits are and breaking them. So the first tier, in my opinion, based on what we use here at Black Dam, is a male should be able to squat and deadlift their body weight for 5 and at least bench 80% of their body weight for 5. Now if we move on to the females, I'm going to do it one step at a time, one demographic. I'm going to split it amongst each of the genders. A female, similar or the exact same, should I say, with squat and deadlift. I want them to be able to squat and deadlift their body weight for 5 reps. The big change is their bench press. I'd like to be able to see them do, and in my opinion, they should be able to do 50% of their body weight for 5 reps. Again, same things apply for the heavier females. They're just gonna, chances are, if they're at the gym and they're a little bit heavier, they're gonna wanna lose weight. The faster that they can lose weight, they might have to go through that process first, and then they can start to hit those numbers. If they want to be at that body weight and they're happy at that body weight, then that's their goal, to be able to squat and deadlift their body weight for 5 and bench 50% of their body weight for 5. The reason why the females' percentage for bench press is lower than the males is just because women struggle to move as much weight as men. It takes them a little bit longer. It's just what I've noticed over the past 5 years of coaching people. So for a female who can bench half their body weight for 5 reps, that's pretty impressive. Remember, we're talking about Gen Pop people here who haven't really squat, bench or deadlifted before. They need to learn the technique, and their first metric that I want them working up to is 50% of their body weight for their bench press. Pretty reasonable, something that's going to challenge them. And from what I've seen in the past using these tiers is, once that Gen Pop lifter gets to their tier 1, once they've completed it, they're then really excited to get to the next one. Like eventually, let's go over to tiers 2 and 3. By the time someone gets here, this is where I would place the strength enthusiasts, right? Let's start with the men. Those men who have been training for 1 to 5 years, they know their way around the gym, they know how to squat, bench and deadlift, or they've been doing it for a while, but their technique's now letting them down. That is their biggest problem. Their technique is holding them at 1.5 times their body weight to 2 times their body weight for their squat and their deadlift, and they're gonna be ranging from 5 to 3 reps, as you can see there on screen. And by now they should be able to bench their body weight up to 1.25 times their body weight. So let's use a 100 kilo male, for example. You know, this guy can squat 150 to 200 kilos for 5 to 3 reps. Same thing for their deadlift. And then with their bench press, he should be able to bench 100 to 125 kilos for 5 to 3 reps. This is what I class as a strength enthusiast. Again, I'm not looking for small numbers that someone can press. I want to see these people push. I like to see big weight move. If these people want to class themselves as a strength enthusiast and they want to consider themselves strong in the gym without competing, those are some benchmarks that they should work towards. And again, they can do this over time. And I've seen plenty of men, like heaps of my lifters. There's a guy down on the gym floor now, Paulie, I don't know whether you can hear him in the background, deadlifting away. He probably weighs somewhere around 120 kilo mark, and he's sitting in between tier 2 and tier 3. He competes every now and again just to give himself a little bit of fun, but really he's a strength enthusiast, and he likes to be able to use these tiers here as a way of measuring his progress. Always gives him something to reach for inside of the gym. And we're working towards benching his body weight for those 5 reps. So he's sitting around that tier 2. He knows once he achieves that, he can then push up to that tier 3. Men should be able to, if they want to consider themselves strong in the gym, in my opinion, be able to deadlift and squat 2 times their body weight for multiple reps and bench very close to that 1.25 body weight. Once they do get to that 1.25 body weight, in my opinion, that's where they'll jump and start becoming a bit more of a competitive powerlifter inside of their chosen federation. But we'll talk about that in a second when we go over. The one for females, this one's really, really interesting, because if you've noticed the recent trend in, say, the past 1 to 4, maybe 5 years, women are just becoming ridiculously strong right now, especially based on their body weight percentages. Like, you see these tiny women of like 60 kilos moving more weight than some men. Like, they're deadlifting well, like 60 kilo lifters deadlifting well into the like 150 kilos plus. You know, and these are just people who enjoy strength training. So I've taken what I've seen from my lifters over the past 5 years, and especially over the past 12 months, and the rapid progress that they're creating. And I've recently updated my female tiers because it gives them something more to challenge with. And a lot of my female lifters who don't compete but want to consider themselves strong sit within these tiers 2 and 3. They're squatting 1.25 to 1.5 times their body weight for 5 or 3 reps, depending on which tier they sit in, and they're deadlifting the same 1.25 to 1.5 for those 5 to 3 reps. Some pretty big numbers. Like again, if you take a 100 kilo female, deadlifting 125 kilos to 150 kilos for 5 to 3 reps, I'm like, that's pretty damn good. If you get a 60 kilo lifter, I'm gonna pull up my calculator now because my maths is terrible. You're getting them deadlifting, what we got? You're gonna have them deadlifting somewhere around like that 80 to 90 kilo mark, and they're gonna be pushing a little bit up to, closer to that 100 kilo mark, just maybe a little bit over when they get into that tier 3, which is pretty reasonable for a strength enthusiast female and can do it. The biggest one here is the bench press. Now, a goal for a lot of females is to always bench their body weight, right? It's always a really good goal. I believe that someone who just wants to be strong and consider themselves strong should be able to do this inside of the gym and then be able to work to do it for multiple reps before they get into the powerlifting scene, because once you get into the competitive powerlifting, man, the females inside of there are strong in 2021. So I've given the tier 2 girls, and what I consider progress is 75% of their body weight up to their body weight between 5 and 3 reps. I've got a lifter at the moment called Josie. She's very much working within that tier 2 for her bench press, working very, very close up to her body weight in her bench press for singles. But then the next thing is taking that and showing progression and repping your body weight for those 3 reps. Again, I know some of these might seem a little out there, maybe, considering, fuck, that is strong. That's what I'm looking for, right? And that's why I create these tiers. And if someone wants to be considered strong, in my opinion, based on what we do here at Black Dam, then damn right I want to see girls benching their body weight for 3 reps. That's fucking awesome. As well as the females going, holy shit, like I don't just do it for 1, I'm doing it for 3 reps. That's a strong female, and that's where they should sit. Again, these tiers shouldn't just be something that you can do after 12 weeks. Like I say, like we need some consistency here. 12 months of consistent hard work and training, and the technique that has to go into it, the dedication to then see that after 12, maybe to 18 months to be able to be benching your body weight for 3 reps. That's fucking awesome, and that's what every male and female should be working towards. Now, as we move on to the competitive powerlifters, this is the 3rd type of person that can work within these training tiers, is the men's competition total. Now, me personally, I talk to every male inside of my gym, especially when they're like, I want to be strong. What's a good total for me to have at my first competition? Usually tier 1 is for those, those first competitors, right? People going into novice competitions or their first time competing. I say to them, at minimum, you want to have a 500 kilo total. You want to be considered strong in the eyes of becoming a power lifter. In my opinion, total at least 500, right? And you can make that up of, say, a 200 kilo squat, 100 kilo bench, 200 kilo deadlift. Whatever floats your boat, and whatever based on your body weight, what's your strongest lift, what lift might need to carry the other one. But a 200, 100, 200 is a good place to start to get your name on the board and see if you like powerlifting. As you can see from there, most guys nowadays just they're like, yeah, I want to beat totaling 800, and I'm like, well, that's total 500 to see that you're strong, and then from there let's go 550. From 550, we'll go up to 600. Now, once the lifter gets to 600, we're talking about a couple of years of training here, and the maturity inside of the lifter kind of understands that, before they get to 700, which is tier 4, because some people are going, you're probably looking at that going, shit, there's a 100 kilo jump there. They know they've got to hit 650 first. That might be a gym total that they hit, and then they're working towards the 700 from there. That might be a year plus worth of training, but this is where, as I've spoken about, you combine the competition tiers and the training tiers, and as you move higher up the tiers and you're getting closer to that tier 4 or closer to that tier 5, you know that when competition time comes, you're working closer towards that tier 4. We've got plenty of guys sitting around that tier 4 or on that tier 4 who are now working to that tier 5, which is getting the 800 kilo. This is where you start to get to that more advanced, state, national level lifters. And then once you do total weight 100 after years of training and practice and dedication, again, the people who get to that tier 5, in my opinion, are dedicated to the sport of powerlifting. They put in the hard work and time and they deserve to be at that tier 5. You're then gonna look above and beyond to start rumbling with more of the elite level lifters. But again, like I say, because of the gap between the tier 3 and the tier 4, as well as the time period that's it's gonna take to get there, to keep a lifter engaged, to keep them excited, to keep them motivated and hungry to work towards something, this is where I implement them inside of the tier 4 to tier 5 and say we need to start pushing up either deep inside of that tier 4, starting into that tier 5 and pushing up from there. And it gives them something to work towards. They have to be hungry. Competitive powerlifters are hungry for a bigger total, but to achieve a bigger total on the platform, you have to get stronger in the gym. So now if we move on to the female competition totals, again, bare minimum for me and what we do here when a female lifter wants to compete, I'm always saying, let's aim for a 300 kilo total. I just mentioned one of my lifters, Josie. She started off as a gen pop lifter. I put the barbell on her one day, just a barbell, and she looked like fucking Bambi. It was interesting to watch, but now she's going for her second competition in about 8 to 9 weeks time, and we're aiming for that 300 kilo total. I believe that's gonna be made up of something like 110 kilo squat, 60 kilo bench, and a 130 kilo deadlift, I believe, which makes up that 300 kilo total. So, it doesn't always have to be even numbers or, 100, 100, 100. Whatever the lifter's strengths are, especially with the females, you're often gonna find that their bench press is gonna climb a little bit slower than their squat and deadlift. But the first tier, if you wanna be a powerlifter, a competitive powerlifter, tier 1, 300 kilos. From there, it's just those natural progressions, 350 into that 400, 450 into that 500. At Blackdown, we've got a lot of lifters in the tier 3, a lot of lifters in the tier 4, and we're gonna have our first female to total over 500, and I say over 500 in that tier 5, which means I'm then gonna have to update these tiers because it has then been broken in a couple of weeks time at States, and we're talking this lifter here, Jax, she's going to be squatting well into the 200s, she's going to be deadlifting into the 200s, and she's going to go very, very close to her first 100 kilo bench press. Jax has been training for 5 years. She's been competitively pushing in powerlifting for probably the past 18 months to 2 years. So that's what I mean, it takes a while. And she was a gen pop, she went to become a strength enthusiast, really loved training, was working up the tiers, dabbled inside of powerlifting, and then continued to get stronger inside of the gym. So now she's gonna break that 500 kilo tier 5 total. So I'm gonna have to update them and bring some more on. And it's just great, like I say, for women, they're just becoming crazy strong nowadays, and it's great to see. In terms of progress, worldwide, the women are making just as much, if not more, progress inside of their bodyweight percentages and putting some crazy fucking totals up inside of powerlifting as the men are. So those are my competition tiers there and my training tiers. You can see how they work together when needed, and just giving anyone who walks into the gym something to work towards. Where are you, what do you lift at the moment? Okay, based on that, you're in this tier. I want to be able to push you onto this tier. So your first goal, if you want to be stronger, is to go from tier 3 to tier 4. I expect it's going to take X amount of months. This is the plan on how we're going to do it. Let's go fucking execute. And what you'll see over time is the maturity in the lifter become, they will become more mature. They're going to get more excited because they've got bigger numbers to hit, consider themselves stronger, and it makes training more exciting for them. So again, I know it's said before that it's unfair to the heavier lifters. Sometimes people just might want to lose weight before they start to move up in tiers, or they just need to get themselves stronger to move up in the tiers. And once if we're talking body weight, those competitive lifters in the 110s, 125s, etc., by then they're not going to be as focused on the training tiers. They're going to be pushing more for competition totals, placing, winning competitions. That's going to be their goal, but they know when they're inside of the gym, it just gives them something fun to work towards, something to keep their eyes set on whilst they might, you know, be prepping for the next competition in like 8 to 12 months. You know, you've always got to have something to work towards in that time. And it's not easy for the lighter lifters either. You know, if you've got a 75 kilo lifter who needs to deadlift or squat 2 times their body weight, that's 150 kilos. That's not going to be easy for them. They're still going to have to work pretty damn hard and build a shitload of muscle to be able to get there. So those are my training tiers. Comment below, where do you sit in the training tiers or the competition tiers? You know, what's your current total? What's your next one? Based on your body weight, what tier do you sit in and what one are you going to work towards, and how will that affect your competition total? If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Black Dan Barbell. You can also find me on Facebook at Black Dan Barbell. Hit that subscribe for me. You know, it's good to see my subscribers keep creeping up as low as they are right now. But again, I'm going to keep putting out weekly videos. If there's anything you want me to talk about, leave a comment below or inbox me in one of my social medias, and I'll speak to you next week.